My name's Mike and I make videos of my allotment and the occasional woodworking video. We've reached the end of 2020, a year that requires to be packed up and deposited into the annals of history. But one which I think we would like to forget. This also relates to the allotment, as it's not been the best of years, certainly not in my memory, and has presented me with some challenges. Therefore, 2020 requires some reflection on how I go forward, or if forward it is in the right direction. The most satisfying thing about an allotment is it's never a total disaster. There's always pluses and minuses, and generally the pluses are greater than the minuses. Over the years, if there's one thing I've learnt, is that success with a particular crop in a year doesn't necessarily guarantee a success in following years, because this is nature we're dealing with, where nothing is certain. And it's what I like about growing. It's making the decisions that go with nature, such as the weather. These are strange times. I can't remember in any of my time in growing one with so many factors. We've got climate change, which we've had for some time now, and we're gradually getting to accept it. We've got the pandemic that's with us, and then in our village we're in the middle of an expansion. I think our population in the village is about 6,000, and it's decided by the council that they're going to increase the housing, and there's housing going up everywhere. And we've only got one road, main road, through the village. It's the Hastings Road. This is the road. It's an old Roman road actually, which is why it's a straight for so many miles. It goes straight off to Hastings. All the services are in it, and the normal way of increasing the services is, first of all, is your drainage, then your electric, it's gas, and then after the gas it goes water, which is usually about 1 metre down to protect it from frost, and then you get the telecoms, and that's been a big problem. The increase in housing is increasing the infrastructure. How is that affecting me on my plot and in the making of my videos? Well, there are three basic things that affect my allotment. That is, 1, the pandemic, 2, climate change, and 3, there's the infrastructure. 1, the pandemic concerned the most, but it didn't affect the allotment the most, or the making of videos on YouTube. In the early stages of the pandemic was a great effect, because we hadn't learned how to live with it. Garden centres closed, and it was a very rigid lockdown. But then the garden centres, businesses generally, not all of them, but most of them became more efficient. And we have 3 garden centres in this area. 2 I used quite frequently, 1 not so often. But the one that I didn't use so often got a really good system going, where you could ring them up in the morning between 8 and 9. You could place your order, pay for it, and they would deliver it straight to your front door by 11 o'clock or thereabouts. That's a reasonable rate. While all the other garden centres had an extra charge for delivering. It goes without question that this garden centre now is my main garden centre. I use that more often than the others. I was impressed, certainly, by the service, and therefore justifies my loyalty. But now, later on in the pandemic stage, we've come more used to it. We've learnt how to sort of live with it. And of course there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because very shortly we'll be starting doing the injections. And the second effect on the allotment, of course, has been climate change. And again, like the pandemic, we've got to learn to live with it. There's not a lot we can do about it. It's raining more and the summers are hotter and we're getting gales, and it just means that we've got to rejudge the weather conditions and proceed as best we can. We are getting used to it. I've had one or two disasters with it though, particularly with the watering that caused the problem that I had with scab this year. But hopefully next year I'll have sorted that one out. And then the third problem that I've got is the increase in infrastructure, and that really has affected allotment and the way I make the videos. One, it's affecting me on the allotment because it's restricted access, and of course with the pandemic early on, when they were putting the cables through my allotment, I couldn't actually work on the plot. That cost me 2 months. But I could work in the polytunnel, and I made sure that I got my seeds going, and that was one of the successes that I had, was the onions. For the first time I'd grown onions by seed, and then I had a complete succession beetroot. Even now, 2021, we are still eating beetroot from the plot. So I had a regular succession. But that's one of the things I've got to sort out. Do I dig them up, do I pickle them, or do I leave them where they are? And that's a question. Now, where it's affected the plot though is the infrastructure, because we've only got one internet supplier, which is BT, or Open Reach as it's known. They are the last to go into the road surface. Well, they don't actually go into the road surface, they go in the pavement, but there are occasions when they've got to cross the road. Also, with the pandemic, people have been FaceTiming more, and people of my age group have been FaceTiming more, because I've been FaceTiming with the children, with the relations, with my grandchildren, and that's put a big strain. So at a time when there's been a strain on the internet has got a reduced signal. At least we've had some form of signal. It's been annoying every now and then when you FaceTime and all of a sudden you get the message, signal lost, and you have to try again. And the same when you're trying to upload a video onto YouTube, which takes a bit of time, all of a sudden it'll just stop. That will get better, I hope. And of course we've got the increase in people who moved in for Christmas into their new homes. That was the target. Most people did that. And so around the Christmas period, when you're FaceTiming more, when you're using the internet more, we had more people in the village using the internet. So that was the biggest problem. Well, that brings me to the end of this upload. I have got more in the can. I have been visiting the allotment when the weather's allowed. I mean, I'll be going straight away from making this video, taking another load of broad beans to plant. I'll talk about that, where I'm growing these in blocks of 12 or 8, depending how many come through. When you don't have a greenhouse, it's more convenient at home. You don't have the mess by just using these pellets. But I can show you what I've been doing. This is the second batch, which is ready for planting. So this week I'll be doing the next batch, and I hope to get a succession going through. But that's all on the next upload, which is just a question of getting through. I haven't received my booster for the internet yet, so I'm still getting the internet just cutting out. It's even affecting our television. You'll be watching a television programme and all of a sudden, like a signal, it goes. Or where it happens the most is when I change stations. If I'm, say, watching BBC 2 and I suddenly zap to ITV on 3, the screen just goes blank, and then I've got to start rebooting the internet connection. It's a real pain. It's what happens when you've got all this extra work going on in the village. I mean, I understand we've got another year of this, so let's hope the booster works. But till next time, take care, look after yourselves, occupy yourself through the lockdown. Don't forget to press the bell for notifications, and if you've not already done so, please subscribe. Most of all, thanks for comments, and I love the comments from the people who were concerned about how I was getting on. I really appreciate that. But for now, it's bye. Let's get off to the allotment.